Please listen carefully.
Well, hello, universe, and welcome to the Optimist Daily Update. I'm Kristy Jansen.
And I'm Summers McKay.
And we're part of the team behind the Optimist Daily, making solutions the news. We bring you reader-funded solutions news every day in order to change the tenor of the news media, social media, and the direction of your day to help you get more focused on solutions.
7 days a week, we publish positive news stories written by award-winning journalists and delivered online to your inbox and through our social channels. And also, we are sharing these solutions in a commute-worthy, walk-worthy, home office-worthy podcast.
At least today we are.
Yeah, exactly.
We're taking a bit of a break in the next couple.
Exactly. I mean, today we are, but, you know. Today, actually, speaking of today, is in fact Wednesday, the 23rd of December, 2020. Okay. Full honesty here, I have had a terrible morning. And I am like running into the brick wall of holiday stress and not having childcare and trying to manage with my husband. And Kristy and I are recording this. Both of us are like not even ready for work. I am still in my robe. There is, pancake batter in my hair, and we have to get this recorded before my husband needs to hand the baby to the teenagers and go to a medical appointment in 17 minutes. So, and then of course we had a huge, super immature fight, husband and wife fight this morning. And,
Summers, I don't know. I mean, I think that all of us, I've had some turbulence in my relationship also lately. And it's just, I feel like this year has been a stress pressure cooker for all of us. And the extended periods of time we're by ourselves, usually there's the outlet of families. I mean, holidays are always a challenge, right? That's the main plot points in all these holiday movies are families that are struggling and then they finally come together.
Well, I mean, I thought it was young woman leaves big city to come home, bake cookies, and fall in love with her high school boyfriend.
Well, that's the Hallmark version. Although usually it's a recently divorced woman with a teenage kid who ends up in a chalet with a writer with writer's block and her mom. Right, that's the one I saw recently.
Right. Well, those are like Hallmark After Dark. But
Hallmark, yes. But the other ones, it's sort of like
family strife. Exactly. It's family
strife. It's family turbulence. It's coming back together after being apart. And a lot of times there's reasons that people don't live with their parents anymore.
Yes. Yeah.
Relationships are under stress.
Yeah.
This year has been stressful. It's been stress. And then I think the pressure also to keep our business growing and trying to be strategic about next year. How do we capitalize on some of the brilliant successes we've had without losing momentum? That's exciting, but it's also kind of terrifying. I mean, it does feel like there's a new chapter just around the corner, but it's also very uncertain. I mean, you can't really plan. That's one of the things that this year has taught me. Not that I did really believe this before, but I really, really have been reminded, and all of us have, that you can't really bet on almost anything. The future is always uncertain, and we can make choices, but you really only are in the moment. And you just have to be kind and generous to yourself and the people around you, I think. But sometimes that's really hard.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that there is like a need to return to self. Yesterday, my parents were here playing with the baby, and I reached over to touch my toes and stretch. And I realized that my mom said something like, "Why don't you stretch every day?" And I just looked at her like, "Lady, what planet do you live on?" And she said, "Summers, you can stretch every day." And she said, and then she, was saying, "Oh, you should have a family stretch every day." And I was like, let's not overdo it. Okay.
There's like a cartoon that I got in the New Yorker recently online. It's like the phases of the pandemic. And it's like the beginning is like you're all kind of hunkering down, and then you kind of get into doing the crafts, and then you get into watching Netflix, and then you get into learning a new skill, and then you get into sort of the depression. You know what I mean? I think we're in the depression. We're in the
pancake in your pajama depression. Exactly. And that's kind of where we're at
now. And, it's the shortest days of the year happening right now, but we have some amazing things happening in our night sky.
We do. Well, so, okay, that's kind of what I was going to say, is that we started this morning meeting with like frantic messaging. And then as we sat down and we started to read the Optimist Daily, because of course, by the time I sat down for this recording, I still hadn't even looked at the headlines. And all of a sudden, the very first headline just took me down a notch and really brought some peace and some space and made me realize how immature perhaps some of my rage fighting was with my husband this morning. And what I just want to say is that the Optimist Daily today, for me, did exactly what we want it to do for all of our readers and all of our listeners. We want, when you are spinning, you to be able to look at the headlines and find something that centers you. And I was really centered. And I would like to thank you, Kristy, for pointing out that I could be centered and for encouraging me to take a moment to watch and listen to the product from our first headline. So do you want to talk about what that first headline is?
Sure. So the headline is How a Biologist and a Composer Are Making Music from the Northern Lights. And I hope everybody goes and actually checks this out. There's a link in the story, but there's an audio element to the Northern Lights that you may not be aware of. And when you're watching it, I don't know if anybody who's listening has ever had the opportunity to go out into the Northern Hemisphere and actually experience this. I actually haven't.
I've seen it once from a plane.
Okay. But it's a beautiful
amazing
light show, and it feels hypnotic when you are watching it. But there's also, those lights are actually collisions between electrically charged particles. It's an electrochemical reaction that's going on. That's what's causing those lights. But when that happens, it's also those electromagnetic waves that are emitted also can be translated into sounds that can be processed through a machine that we can then hear. And that's what this composer and this biologist Karin Lemukul-Bodini, she went out in the way.
Well done on that name, just so you know. Well done.
Hopefully I didn't mess it up too badly. But she went out into the Alaskan wilderness with her dog sleigh, and she recorded these sounds. She lives in the Alaskan village of Galena. And she discovered about 16 years ago that you can actually record those sounds using a very low frequency receiver, and then you can listen to it. And when you listen to it and you're watching it, and that's what this video that we looked at today does, it feels like I felt it in my heart. I felt my heart like settling in my chest. There's something about the sound and the lights. So looking at the sky can really ground you in a way
well, exactly. And while this particular documentary has not yet been released, and we look forward to when it is, there is a link in the article that takes you to just watching the visual and hearing that crackling of the sound of the electromagnetic interaction. And it just, you felt it in your heart. I kind of felt it in my skin and in my hair. And like, I felt that electricity, and it just reminded me that we're all just, chemical reactions. We're all just interacting with our universe. And, there are all these meditation apps, and there's one in particular called Calm that advertises on my Facebook all the time. And I really do, every time it rolls through the feed where it just is like breathe for 10 seconds, I actually do it. And that is what this link that our editorial team found offered to me this morning, was just breathe for 1 minute, breathe and listen and watch this crackling. And it just felt so good. I loved it. And we're going to have a better day because of it.
And just to mention the name of that documentary, which is not yet out, you're right. It's called Songs of the Sky. And the composer is Matthew Bertner. And he's been commissioned by the UK's Radio 3 to turn these celestial sounds into a piece of music, which will last 6 minutes. And it's kind of an attempt to express the dialectic between humans and the natural world, and the fact that we really are of this world. We are natural. We're part of it, and we are interconnected with it. Anyway, so I think this is a great head story, especially since this is our last recording of 2020. We're going to take a little break from the pod doing live shows. We will be sharing some things over the next week, looking back on the year with some of our best interviews, and we will certainly be back on the pod in the beginning of next year. But Summers, what was the other headline you wanted to highlight
just quickly today? Because, and this is in the health section, so just quickly, because we do have a health thing we have to handle at my house, and my house is about to get loud momentarily. But the next headline that I loved reads, successful phase 1 trials show potential for universal flu vaccine. Now, obviously, vaccines have been a really, really salient topic in the news lately, but looking beyond COVID-19, innovations across the board in vaccines have really been fast-tracked this year. And most recently, we are in phase 1 of a clinical trial of a universal flu vaccine, which would be so essential. We don't talk about it a lot, but the flu is a really, really dangerous sickness and illness, and it is very pervasive. And a lot of our education about COVID has come from our learning and understanding of the flu. But traditional flu vaccines just basically target the protein head of the virus, prompt your immune systems to make antibodies to fight it. This is an alternative strategy where the vaccine doesn't target the head, but the stalk of the protein. And it remains more stable from year to year so that the flu vaccine doesn't have to be updated every single year.
Right, because the proteins on the edge of the vaccine mutate often. And so that's why each year there has to be a new flu vaccine, and sometimes they get it right, sometimes they miss, and it's wrong, about 50% effective, and you have to get a new one every year. But this is a more stable, robust vaccine. It looks like it does provoke a immune response, and it gives you protection that will last longer. And this is why this is the idea of a universal flu vaccine has the potential to save tens of millions of lives over the next several decades.
Exactly. And this, I've seen so many people who I love and respect and admire who are in the medical field who have had the opportunity to have the coronavirus vaccine. And I'm so happy for them. And I'm so happy to see it rolling out. And, it's just a very exciting time to sort of see the light through some of the darkness, and also to really celebrate some of the advances that have been made as we have waged this war on COVID-19. So we've got other great headlines on the Optimist Daily today, and we will the entire holiday break. While we will not be recording the Optimist Daily update, our writers will be distributing and sharing some of the best stories of 2020, as well as their general notes and thoughts from the year's end. So it's going to be a really special time on the Optimist Daily. If you're a subscriber, subscribe every day to a thought piece article from one of our editorial team. We're really proud of the work they're doing. And as we wrap up this year, we just want to say thank you to everybody who's listened to the Optimist Daily update. And thank you to everybody who has been part of our community. We are incredibly grateful for you. You give us optimism. And frankly, thank you for letting us meet every morning and share our lives with you.
Yes. And I feel the same way, Summers. And I feel like this has been an opportunity for us to get closer to each other, even in a funny way, even though we're insulated from each other on a physical level, but also grow a relationship with our audience in a more personal way. And I think that's been really, really important. And I'm very grateful for that opportunity.
I think the last most important person we need to thank this year is Amelia, because Amelia, you are a gift. And Amelia is the brilliance behind this podcast. So Amelia, thank you for all you do.
She's our producer and does it all for us, makes us sound smarter than we actually are. So we appreciate her.
All right, so let's just bring it home. Guys, thank you. As we always say, we appreciate everyone who listens to the Optimist Daily Update. As you round out this year, if you feel like giving that last minute gift an emissary membership to someone you love and give them the gift of optimism and help them on mornings like I had today to take a breath, take a beat, learn something inspiring, and it'll help us keep the Optimist Daily Update free to all who need it, supported by those who can. Thanks, guys. Happy Christmas and Happy New Year. We will see you in 2021.